What's up, everybody? So, I'm going to do a bit of an unboxing here. I got some RPG books in the mail, and I thought I would open them up and see what we got and talk about them. So, I'm pretty sure that this is going to be my copy of Index Card RPG 2.0 paperback, as well as Swords and Wizardry Continual Light and what else? Oh, Saga of the Giants, which is, excuse me, a supplement for Basic Fantasy RPG. I think it's an adventure path. So let's see what we got. Oh, yes, that is what it is. All right, so ICRPG 2.0. Look at that beautiful black book. Hankrin Fernell, you did good. So this is pretty sweet. I've been really looking forward to this. I have the first copy of it, and it was really well done. This one, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, is excellent. And this is the sort of expanded version. It's got a lot more of the tables in here. It's greatly expanded. You can see 210 pages. I think the original was just over like 120 maybe. So there's a lot of extra pages in here. Oh, yes. Oh, I'm excited for that. That's really good. All right, let's see what we've got here. We've got Saga of the Giants. This one I'm actually really excited about. This actually completes my ICRPG collection here. This one's pretty thick. This is actually probably about as thick as the core book, or almost. So this one is, I think, basically a reimagining of, I think, what is it called? Against the Giants, which was one of the original modules. I don't know if it was in advanced or expert set or whatever, but this is the basic fantasy RPG version. This says levels 9 to 12. So very excited about that. I want to read through this one. I'm not convinced that anybody ever actually made it to level 9 in OSR systems. I think that's just a myth. But if anybody here has actually played a campaign in an OSR system where you made it to level 9, let me know. Cool, man. So this is great. I'm excited about this. And this is what you can see here. This is what I really like about Basic Fantasy, is that the modules, the way they're set up, these boxes right here, these are hit point boxes. So this is great because what you can do is you can see, okay, Hill Giant, like look at that. That's a stat block for a Hill Giant. AC 15, 8 hit dice, right? And a hit dice, 1 hit dice is D. All those, but you don't need to because they're right here. He gets 1 attack, doing 2 damage, moves 30 feet, saves as a fighter level 8. So the GM would have to look that up. And morale of 8, which means you roll your, I believe, 2d6, and if you roll an 8 or higher, he'll continue to fight on. Otherwise, they might run away or cower or something. So very cool. I'm excited to see this. I don't know if I'll run that one very much, but we'll see. And then this is the one I'm really excited about, Swords and Wizardry Continual Light. This one is, this was created, written by Eric Tankar-Stein. You might know him from Tankar's Tavern. That's kind of his thing online. And you can see here, yeah, Zach Glazer, who I believe is part of Frog God Games, who publishes Swords and Wizardry. James Spahn, who has done a number of things, including the White Box Omnibus, The Hero's Journey. I believe he did White Star, which is phenomenal. It's basically a sci-fi hack of White Box, and then Eric Tankar. So this is excellent. This one is actually very, I don't know if the price is worth it, honestly, for hardcover. This cost me $7, not hardcover, but hard copy, $7 on Amazon. But I wanted the hard copy anyway, just because I think it's worth supporting these guys. The very last page here is the OGL, and then you can see the rules here. But what's great about this book, you can get this PDF on DriveThruRPG, I think for about $2.99. The print copy is about $7, but it's like 30 pages, so you could just print it out if you wanted to. What's amazing about this, and I think they're actually coming out with an expanded edition at some point here, hopefully maybe this summer was, I think, what I heard. But this is basically taking White Box, Swords and Wizardry White Box, which was sort of a retro clone or a clone of the original D&D that was created, the 3 little brown books that were created in 1977. White Box kind of compiled those, reformatted them a little bit, made them a little easier to read and all that. And so this has taken that, which is already extremely simple, and simplified it even more. So I believe Eric Tenkar kind of mentioned this as a great way to a great like con game, right? Like if you got to run something in a con, or if you want to like pick this up for your kids. Yeah. So, and you guys can hear me, right? All right. Hey, Chris, what's up? I am unboxing some OSR Goodness here. Swords and Wizardry, Continual Light, ICRPG 2, and Saga of the Giants, an adventure for basic fantasy role-playing. Yeah. So this is what, hopefully I'm going to be able to bring a lot more of this to my channel over the next couple of months. I've been very much getting into OSR systems, and I'm actually going to do a video about that, and hopefully I'll be able to do a collaboration here with Lee, your humble game master, who on YouTube, because we are both sort of quote unquote new school players who recently discovered some old school and our love for OSR gaming. And so, and he actually just ran a fantastic game of Dragon Warriors over on his channel, so you should go check that out. But I very much want to talk to him and kind of share our thoughts about, as new school gamers, what we think about the OSR, why we enjoy it, some of the problems we see with it, and kind of what the opportunities are for people. But this one in particular is awesome. I mean, it's so simple. All you need for Continual Light is a D20 and a D6. It's extremely simple. It's got your typical sort of 4 races, right? You've got the dwarf, the elf, the halfling, and the human. And in true old school style, the dwarf can only be a fighter or a thief. And then it shows some of the bonuses that they get. The elf can be a magic user, a fighter, magic user, or a thief. Halfling can be a fighter or a thief, which I always think is funny that a halfling can only be a fighter or a thief. Thinking of them as a fighter is just weird to me. And then human, any classes. So you'll notice that if you want to be a cleric, you can only be a human. If you want to be a magic user, you can only be a human or an elf. So that's sort of pretty typical of old school. Some editions did race as class. This one kind of doesn't exactly do that. And then you've got the fighter, the cleric spells, magic user, and thief. And this one goes up to level 7. So what's interesting about that, some people look at that as kind of like, oh, well, that's no good. That's not complete. But honestly, a lot of games, the sweet spot is level 6 or level 7 anyway. And in old school games, especially, it can sometimes be difficult to get to level 7. However, check this out right here. Perks. They do have a system in here. After attaining 7th level, PCs can still accumulate game session adventure credit, 1 credit per adventure / session, GM choice, for playing, and they could spend this to their, so it gives them things that they can upgrade, right? Add 1 HP to their total. You can buy that a couple, 10 times max, lower your saving throw by 1 point, this, that, and the other. So, this one is really cool. This one also, because it's based on Swords and Wizardry, has single saves, goes to level 7. Very very minimalist, right? But it's also one of those things where you can, it allows you to discover your character and flesh out your character at the table, as opposed to with all these abilities that you get. Gives you adventuring packs, which is really nice because you don't have to spend a ton of time picking out gear. Tells you how you gain levels, and what's really cool about this is there's no XP for monsters. You gain levels by the amount of sessions that you play. It also does give you optional classes here. Where are those? Let me just take a look. Thief, adventuring packs, right here, optional classes, right? So you can play these optional classes, and they're basically just sort of additions to the first class. But what it shows down here is, okay, if you're playing one of your normal classes, to get to level 2, you do that in 2 adventures. But if you're playing one of those optional classes, it actually takes 3 adventures. And so that's kind of how they handle balance, right? And then you need a total of 5 adventures to get to level 3, total of 9 adventures to get to level, et cetera. So it's extremely easy. You don't have to worry about calculating XP. Jose, I want to play basic fantasy. Absolutely, man. I'll run some basic fantasy for you for sure. I want to play it as well. I really want to play this one too, Continual Light. You can see optional classes, those perks, like I said. Equipment list. I mean, look at this, right? Everything's D6 based. So bow's D6, dagger D1D6 minus 1, right? So very limited. What you're doing in this game is, and really in any old school game, is you're relying a lot on player ingenuity and cleverness, but you also do rely a lot on your adventuring gear. The other great thing about this is, simple combat system, simple attack roll. It also, in typical Swords and Wizardry style, gives you both the ascending and descending armor class, damage and death, healing, saves, talks about monster saves. Monster saves calculated by subtracting their hit dice from 19. Great. Talks about movement. And then you can see spell lists here. Clerics only go up to 3rd level because by the 7th level, that's the highest spell level you've attained. And look, they've got 2 spells. But if you think about it, what do they mean by adventure? Is that session or a certain length campaign? Or, well, that's a good question. That's really up to the GM. But typically I would say, it's whatever you've defined as an adventure. So anyway, and then list of monsters in the back here. And I mean, look at those stat blocks. Like, that's it. Pretty sweet. And Genesis content as well. So you guys have a good one.